Good morning. Welcome to the morning market briefing. Today is Wednesday, 6 de Mayo, 2026. TK is back in the office. I just don't understand how people can get through their work week if they don't have a 22-year-old blonde in their office, And it just feels good to have him back. I feel more comfortable in the office. So
the void is filled.
TK, hit us off. We got some big movers this morning. We got some news from NVIDIA, news from AMD, reporting earnings. We've got just stuff popping off. Not to mention, yesterday afternoon, we had a number of companies pop off high double digits. It's been a wild 24 hours since I got off this call.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely ripping. We left our conference yesterday, and the memory narrative continues to go. I mean, we saw Micron maybe up like after hours, including the day, up like 17%. Samsung is now over a $1 trillion market cap. I think maybe 3 years ago, you kind of thought Samsung, all they're doing is making TVs and the Walmart iPhone. But, they've entered this memory space. The pricing on these new memory chips is absolutely ridiculous. Microns, so these memory chips are extremely complicated and there's a lot to go into them. So you would assume there's a lot of fixed costs and variable costs associated with building these chips. They have a projected gross margin for 80% this year on these memory chips, which is just absolutely insane. All these data centers need these for their reasoning and their models. So when we've seen all these big data center build-outs, I think that a lot of these companies were betting on the current memory prices in their capital expenditures revision or capital expenditures guidance rather than now. And I think we're going to continue to see more capital expenditure revisions upward. We saw basically every one of the Mag 7 that's doing data center and hyperscaling revise their CapEx. And a lot of it's not because they're like, man, we're just going to keep building more data centers. It's like, man, we might have bitten off a little more than we can chew. This is going to be a little bit more expensive than we were originally thinking.
So short Meta, because Meta so far is the only one that really gets
I would not be short Meta. You would see. I like Meta. I like where Meta's going, but I think that you're going to see companies continue to raise their CapEx guidance.
I mean, I do too, but every time they raise CapEx, that stock drops 10%.
I don't know.
But
I like buying that dip.
At the end of the day, they're going to continue to rock and roll, I think. And just wait till the new glasses come out. They're going to be so fresh.
Wait till you have the Meta glasses and Mark Zuckerberg is making $30 an ad while people are wearing the Meta glasses.
Man, can you imagine, like, if you had to watch a 30-second ad to continue using your vision?
I mean, it's
going to happen.
Happening. You're going to see a Wegovy ad on your glasses brought to you by Mark Zuckerberg.
So talk to us about the glowworm, the Corning situation with NVIDIA. NVIDIA's buying a huge chunk of Corning, which those in the business call glowworm because the ticker is GLW. But what do you think the move is there? Are they just trying to corner the market on their supply chain, get into the glass game?
Yeah, I mean, NVIDIA at this point is I think that they've decided they're not going to be a hyperscaler. They're basically going to be almost like a private equity firm when it comes to taking these stakes in their supply chain. So they will see success from the different picks and shovels associated with the AI boom, while not necessarily actually producing a lot of it themselves. And I think it is good. It de-risks them a lot and allows them to maintain a strong cash balance. But yeah, I think it's kind of just another it's like a core weave. It's like taking these big chunks. They're buying 15 million shares. The stock is up 20% this morning on that news.
We should bring it to a cool 100% since the beginning of the year because it's about 80 pre-market.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one because that's, I mean, an old school value name. Like you don't think of Corning and you think, oh man, this is a company that is going to double in stock price in the first 5 months of a year. But, I mean, for the longest time, it was just like a $30 to $60 stock, and now it's bumping up on $200 a share. And it used to be, man, buy it, clip the dividend. People are going to continue to buy stuff that has glass and glass components. And the story that never came true was back in 2012, 2013. It was the Gorilla Glass, Sapphire Glass, and then, all these different types of advanced glasses that were going into both smartphones and bigger, flatter TVs. And everyone's like, oh man, the amount of engineering it takes to build this Apple TV, which kind of also never came to fruition, but the Apple was supposed to have these smart TVs that were supposed to be unbelievable, and they kind of just scrapped that. But Corning was supposed to be the net winner on that. It just never kind of came through. And then now it seems like all of that potential growth is now being front loaded in the last 2 years because people realize now glass is a critical component of basically all electronic goods. And I don't know if you guys have heard, but electronics are becoming very expensive very quickly because all of the components that used to go into, I mean, just like memory chips, things you were kind of run of the mill going in laptops, going in phones, are now being hyper engineered, and every one of them is getting sold to go in these data centers. And so the scarcity factor has become unbelievable. So, man, old glowworm just out there wiggling.
Man, they're trading at like an 80 PE or something too.
It's crazy. Yeah. Traditionally, they trade at like 9. So, bonds are also popping off. So it seems that the death of the bond market, which was all anyone could talk about yesterday, was pretty short-lived. You heard it here first yesterday. It was an unbelievable buying opportunity on the 20 and 30-year Treasury. They both dropped about 10 basis points this morning on the news that there's potentially Iranian deal.
We got some news maybe like 5 minutes ago that said I think Trump had a comment that said we are not quite there.
Not quite
so
there?
I'm sure we'll sell off. And
because the news was that Project Freedom, which also seems to have been short-lived after lasting a day and involving some gunfire, has been paused on progress in a deal with Iran. Though I guess we're walking that back. But oil fell, 11% overnight. WTI was down around 90. The bond market, falling sharply. I'd have to look right now and see if we've seen a reversal of that in the last few minutes if we've gotten new news.
I don't think he stopped the Project Freedom pause, but he said, quote, "The Iran deal is not there yet, and it's too soon to plan peace talks."
Man, every day they tease us.
They love teasing. Well, yeah, Axios is just going to pump the price of oil down at any means necessary. So,
but you know what? Yesterday, and I may have been one of the only traders in the office yesterday because everyone seems to want to go on vacation all the time and not subscribe to the grind hard, grind every day mantra that I adopt myself. But we were selling a lot yesterday. Market was up quite a bit, just trimming and buying bonds. We bought a lot of longer bonds, mortgages. I mean, even in some accounts where, there wasn't quite enough to buy a full bond piece, we were just buying UTHY, which is the 30-year Treasury ETF, just to get that exposure quickly. And if we rotate later, we rotate later. But I mean, that's a big move in a 12-hour period between the end of yesterday afternoon and this morning. So we're just rocking and rolling. So I'm excited. Market should be up quite a bit today. I don't know if we're going to be following it because we don't own Corning and we don't own AMD. But we've got some other earnings coming through. TK, why don't you walk us through them?
So some other earnings coming out this morning. Like I said, AMD yesterday, just a little more detail on that. 57% data revenue from last year at this time, and a super strong Q2 guidance. So $5.8 billion on data center revenue this quarter, and then total revenue for next quarter is supposed to be $11.8 billion, which is above analyst expectations by a little over a casual billion.
Yeah, no big deal.
Just another, So AMD, one of NVIDIA's primary competitors. They do a lot with the CPU, like the personal computer market, but they also do compete with NVIDIA on the GPUs. But honestly, I think that a lot of this stuff is just everyone is going to win. This is basically just, for me, a read on overall GPU demand. So I would think NVIDIA would actually be up a little bit more than it is today. Then Disney, despite some economic headwinds, Disney Experiences saw revenue climb 7% to $9.5 billion. A lot of cruise lines were struggling, but they did, I think, actually have a pretty successful cruise line quarter. Expectations for Disney this quarter were super low, though. The entertainment segment jumped 10% to $11.7 billion. This is powered mostly by an 88% boost in streaming operating income. This is not primarily lots of people subscribing to Disney Plus and Hulu. I'm not sure if anyone else. I got a free Disney Plus membership with the purchase of my television.
Ooh.
And for an entire year, I was like, okay, yeah, let me think Xfinity's killing it. But basically how they're making money now is just an obscene amount of ads. We're talking like 3 or 4 ads per 30 to 40 minute episode of something, which is absolutely ridiculous. But
we used to call that TV. You may not have ever really watched terrestrial TV, but that's what it used to be like.
I was in the, I think you'd have maybe 2 or 3 ads, but you weren't paying for cable, but I don't know. they've taken advantage of the fact they have a sticky market, and now they're rolling out their ads, which I think is pretty good for Disney. And then on the rest of their segments too, they beat expectations.
If you had to guess, what would you say on a 5-year trailing basis, what the annualized return is for Disney stock?
An annualized return, probably -5.5%.
So you would have annualized a loss of 11%
Man.
if you had bought Disney 5 years ago. All right, 10-year annualized return for Disney stock. If you had to guess.
The way you're smiling makes me think it's even higher than 10, so maybe 12?
It is 4.73 basis points per year. So if you had invested $1, you basically have $1.09.
I think Disney's a horrible operator, and I would
over a 10-year period. Meanwhile, the stock market has done quite a bit better than that on average. But
there's a new CEO. I think that he might be trying to trim the fat.
Oh, they've all tried.
Charge people more. But I mean, I just don't.
I mean, they're up 7% pre-market to bring them down 5% for the year.
Yeah.
So I got a little, but not as much backlash as I thought I would for the 4th of May commentary on Star Wars. But
oh yeah, I mean, certain people have culture and like one of the greatest stories ever told, and some people don't like Star Wars. So, moving on to Uber. This is a company that I think I have probably your perspective on with Disney on. I don't understand how Uber continues to make money. Going to throw out a little personal story. With the purchase of my television, where I went and bought my TV on Uber Eats because it was 50% off the regular price if I were to go to a Best Buy or Target, to have someone deliver it to me.
I didn't realize you could buy TVs on Uber Eats.
I thought it was glitching. And
Did you eat the TV?
Yeah, like seriously, I can have someone bring a television to my house, and it's going to be half the price of the regular TV on the internet.
Was it some sort of promo they were doing where, like, if you used it to try and get people aware of television delivery
like half
services?
of the TVs on Best Buy were 50% off. I'm like, this can't possibly be profitable for Uber. But a very strong quarter for Uber. They're up 9% this morning. Better than expected forecast. Little weakness in the Middle East, obviously. But a pretty robust demand for commuters and travelers within the United States. Gross bookings grew 25% to $53 billion this quarter, which is above analyst estimates. I think they had a lot of weakness surrounding the Middle East. So
here's a question. Who do you think drives the Ubers in the Middle East?
I don't know. I've never been to the Middle East.
Icks like that one. Out of curiosity. CVS, moving on.
CVS moving on. One more thing on Uber. I mean, I just don't know how some of these, I think that basically their only business model strategy right now for high margin offerings is getting people addicted to Uber Eats. And with some of these crazy promotions, I mean, you can literally, sometimes at the office, we'll go get a buy one, get one you can get a buy one, get one deal on Uber where they're basically paying for one of your meals. I don't understand how they're going to.
I don't use
continue
Uber
to
Eats
make
enough.
money.
I need to start getting deep in the Uber Eats thing. I'm a
it's
big
crazy.
don't pay full price for anything kind of guy.
I mean, it's like I do not understand how they possibly will make money in the future. Here's
a question. Do you think that the person on the other end of the phone with your Uber driver is another Uber driver in the Middle East? Is that possible?
that's a paradox.
I always wonder.
Right
I wonder who they're on the phone.
On CBS, nothing special here. Sort of just another beat and raise. It is interesting. We are seeing not necessarily we're seeing a lot of beats in earnings this season on analyst expectations, but on overall guidance. I mean, obviously a lot of these companies did not guide for the war and the increased energy costs going into the year, and we're really not actually seeing too much revisions on guidance, which I think is a strong indicator for the overall broadening of the economy. But they raised guidance on EPS, and then the primary increase was actually better performance on the pharmacy business.
Moving on to jobs, we've got ADP employment out this morning on the heels of a number of mass layoff news. But give us a hit on PayPal, and then I'll hit us with the actual ADP employment change number.
Yeah, so honestly, it seems like it's a once a day. What was it yesterday? Coinbase?
Yeah, Coinbase laid off, 14% of its staff?
Yeah, so PayPal is planning on cutting 20% of its staff, almost 5,000 people, over the next 2 to 3 years. Just another one where these guys are like, man, it is almost forcing AI and how competitive the market is getting for a lot of these tech companies is really just like, man, we got to trim the fat here. And then this is more of a alleged layoff, but one of the people I follow on Twitter, who's pretty reputable, has seen some letters coming out with more soft firing out of Microsoft. I think like yesterday or 2 days ago, she put it out. Another career mobility opportunity for these people. So they're looking to, I think, a lot of the people on the sales side, a lot of people that can be automated and replaced. They're basically trying to have these phase 1 and 2 skill outs, where they're going to basically see if they can like hire these people to be like an engineer or something internally before kind of just getting rid of them. This is like 5 to 10%, more 5 to 10% of the workplace.
Speaking of Seattle-based companies moving employees, what do you think about the Nashville? Talk about slow firing. Seattle is being slow fired as the headquarters of Starbucks. They're opening up a secondary headquarters in Nashville, moving, I want to say it's like 2,500, 3,000 jobs to Nashville. It's interesting, though, because it seems to be the upper level management, the higher paying jobs. And I don't know if you know this, but Tennessee, no state income tax. Washington, new wealth tax. Do you think they're related? And if so, do you think
I wonder if Brian Nickel is going to save himself millions of dollars by moving to Tennessee.
I wonder if he's going to move there, because notably part of his contract when he took over Starbucks was he didn't have to work in the Seattle office. He could continue to operate out of his seaside home in La Jolla, California,
or can
around
fly
San Diego.
And spend a bunch of money.
Yeah, so the question
cut
is
the operating margin in half.
He's probably looking at the new wealth tax that's about to go through in California and thinking, I'm going to move to Nashville as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that it's probably a lot of self-interest going on. But
yeah, I mean, it's going to save a fortune for both the people who work there and the company itself. But I would say we've seen a lot of companies over the last few years try and move their headquarters. It doesn't go very well. Maybe the cost savings weren't what they thought. It's expensive. So I think this is an interesting move where they'll probably, my guess is, get that office up and running, get everything in place, and then sort of re-domicile, if that makes sense. Like, instead of being like, everybody's moving to Dallas for AT&T and everyone's got to do this. And it's just like, we're going to move the high earners away from the taxes, get everybody settled, and then we're going to reclassify our company as a Nashville company and avoid, some of the problems of having a Washington-based high-earning community.
Yeah, I think it just pushes back the savings timeline for Starbucks too.
Yeah, it's interesting days. ADP jobs report came in. Expectation was growth of 120,000. We got 109. There was a 1,000 job revision down for the last reading. Again, I would rate this data as a D- in terms of feasibility. Sometimes the market
it's a number that's out there.
You'll see it on TV. They'll be like, man, jobs came in strong, but not as strong as we thought. And they're going to talk about it on TV, but I would just say don't even pay attention to it. But we have to acknowledge it here. It is a major piece of news that will be on TV. Finally, I think last story, DeepSeek, looking at a $50 billion valuation. There was a time where it almost blew up the entire stock market for a day when DeepSeek came out and said they were doing all the same things that our AI could do, but with 3 rats on a wheel, and they say they were doing it with half the cost. Give us some backstory on what your thoughts are on DeepSeek going forward.
Well, I'll just give a little bit of my backstory. So the first time I used DeepSeek was actually last summer when it kind of got really popular. I think it's a pretty good model, but it is absolutely hilarious how it works. So if anyone go get DeepSeek and log into your Google account and sell your information to the Chinese government. But once you get into DeepSeek, you should ask it what happened at Tiananmen Square. And will start going out, like it's going to say something. Oh, sorry, I can't tell you this information.
Interesting.
Or you ask it what's happening with the Uyghur Muslims, and it'll be like, yeah, the Uyghur Muslims are like a terrorist organization against the Chinese government. So
interesting.
DeepSeek is a propaganda machine, but actually,
did you ask it if Tim Walz gave him the plans for our nuclear mortar system at Tiananmen Square?
That'd probably
because there's something people don't talk about enough. I would say.
So the deal kind of values DeepSeek around, I think it's like $45 to $50 billion. It's kind of like them pushing out their champion model out of Beijing, and as of recent, with the NVIDIA export controls, they've really pivoted to using almost an entirely internal homegrown supply chain. So they're running on these new, I think it's Huawei it's Huawei, I think.
Huawei,
right?
yeah.
Huawei chips rather than the NVIDIA chips. But yeah.
Lame.
But I don't know. It is This is how you get Huawei to get some runway, is force them to have all the Chinese companies.
I mean, I just think it's cute. They've got a little $50 billion AI company.
Yeah, I
That's
remember
cute.
my first.
That's only like the value of GM, you know?
Yeah.
So
It is cheap, though. I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably low.
it's probably because I would guess that at a certain point, no U.S. company is ever going to be able to use them to do anything.
Oh, yeah, there's like
So-
zero. I mean, no one, I don't think anyone outside of China will. Maybe Russia will use
I mean, you
the
can't.
DeepSeek,
I'm not
but-
sure if it's still the case, but it was for a long time. It was illegal to buy a Huawei phone because the assumption was that if you bought one, they would just track you all over the place and try and use it to spy on anything and everything they could. So
They wouldn't do that.
that was. I want to say that was Trump 1.0 banned Huawei phones. That was, remember the big TikTok thing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that. Well, that wraps it up for today. Glad to have TK back. I have no idea who's going to be in here tomorrow. Maybe Andrew, not Ben. I have no idea when everyone gets back. But,
Ben is not back.
so not Andrew either, says Hicks. So
More Tom and Tom.
we're just going to be absolutely swimming in burritos because that's our
Wait,
just,
Wilson's
our just
gone too.
reward.
Are we gonna get burritos?
Oh,
We might need to hit an auto.
I'm gonna put the onus on me. I'll do a burrito order for the team. How much could they possibly be? $200, $300 for a burrito? I don't know what inflation is right now, but it's definitely lower than people think. Well, we'll check back tomorrow day. Again, questions, concerns, worries, questions for TK specifically. If you want to know this young man and what he's about, send in some questions, and we'll get some answers for you tomorrow. But we will see you tomorrow.